What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We are back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It is time to bust that rhyme. Get on the grit and get on the grind. We're talking about that slime. Put it down. That's the rhyme. Anyway, you already know what it is when you see me. Front your TV. One thing's for certain and three things are for sure. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats, none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important number of them all. Number three. Want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. You may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P? Does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to hide it from you. You know I don't do that. I don't keep the information from the peoples. Smash like button, subscribe, and share it with your peoples. And once you've done those three things in any order, you've done them and you've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. And since sharing is indeed caring, once you've shared this with your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, sisters, cousins, your uncles, your brothers, fathers, sisters, mothers, fathers, friends, you name it, you have indeed cared about these people. What up, though, everybody in the chat? What up, though, Tactical Sport? What up, though, for the people who are lurking, who are twerking, who are smirking, who are working? And anything else you're doing that rhymes with lurking, I don't want to know. It's freaky. And it's also maybe a bit illegal. So keep it to yourself. Just like Karen and her bland ass potato salad. We got some things to get into today, man. We got some talks from Dan Campbell. We've got some prospects that the Lions met with at the combine. Yeah, and we got some of those things. So, Tactical Sports says, did you see Melvin's interview on the Rich Eisen show? I did see Melvin's interview on the Rich Eisen show, and Melvin said that the Pistons getting cooked right now, about 10. Melvin said that we are doing the best that we can to avoid windows. But he said that before. I don't think that's anything new. That's his speech. There's no such thing as a Super Bowl contending window because we've drafted all of these guys. And once you've drafted all of these guys that are great to good or good to great, I should say, then you've avoided the window. So that's his take. And if he believes that, he believes that. But you know what? How else you would avoid a window? Get yourself a damn defensive line. That would work. That would work pretty well. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The one aide says some Piston stuff. So what up, Zach J? All right. So just like we did yesterday with Brad Holmes, we're going to go ahead and react to Dan Campbell's presser. The presser is...
Hi, I'm Gemini.
All right. The presser was yesterday. We got caught up talking about Brad Holmes and the things that he had to say. So we're going to talk about Dan Campbell today. So we'll just jump right into it, from kind of the beginning. So off-season coaching changes, general opening question about the off-season evaluations and the recent coaching staff updates. So we'll see what one Dan Campbell has to say about all that.
Been a lot that's transpired here, really since the end of the season. We're still in the process of kind of looking at everything, the cut-ups, offense, defense, special teams. Defense is really what we've been involved in. I've been involved in with shepherding those guys because we have the staff intact. Fortunate to be able to keep Jim O'Neill. He had an opportunity to go with the Jets, so that worked out good for us. So really, we got the staff still intact. And it's about cleaning up some of those little things. And then offensively, it's Drew kind of getting up to speed with our terminology.
Okay. So before we get too far into the offense, right? And I've said this, and I'm going to continue to say this. And I gave you guys the numbers. I gave you the context of the numbers. The Detroit Lions defense in 13 out of 17 possible attempts, okay, because there were no more attempts because we didn't make the playoffs. So 13 out of 17 possible attempts, the Detroit Lions failed on defense to hold their opponents below 21 points. Let me say that again. On 13 out of a possible 14 attempts, the Detroit Lions defense failed to hold their opponent under 21 points. In contrast, like I told you guys yesterday, the Seattle Seahawks, who won the Super Bowl, on 20 attempts, they failed 5 times. And they had 20 attempts because they played the Super Bowl as the number 1 seed. Right? So they had the bye week. Mm-hmm. Right. And Sam Darnold was their quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I think most people in Detroit will tell you that Sam Darnold is not as good as Jared Goff, that Jared Goff is better than Sam Darnold. So if we indeed and in fact have the quarterback who's better, and we have the offense is better, because, you know, we top 3 in this, top 3 in that, top 3 in other thing, top 5 in this, top 5 in that. Okay, we got the offense, right? So what's the difference? This team who has a lesser quarterback in the Seattle I was about to call them Supersonics, the Seattle Seahawks. The offense is a lesser thing, right? But we went 9-8. They went 14-3. We didn't make the playoffs. They won the Super Bowl. Well, again, 13 out of a possible 17 times, the Detroit Lions defense failed. They failed to keep their opponents under 21 points. The Seattle Seahawks only failed 5 times. It's a big difference. So the fact that you're so glad to keep the band together, the gang is all here, I don't understand that. Let me ask y'all a question in the chat. Let me ask y'all a question. The Last Dance. Everybody was captivated by The Last Dance during COVID. And even though we're Detroit Pistons fans, okay, everybody sat there and watched the Last Dance documentary of the Chicago Bulls. Now, I'm asking you guys a simple question. Simple question. There's no bias involved in this at all. It's just common sense. Does that documentary get made if the Chicago Bulls don't win any championships? Does that documentary get made if the Chicago Bulls don't win multiple championships? Does that documentary get made if the Chicago Bulls were not going for their second three-peat? They took a year or 2 off and then back to winning 3 championships in a row. Does that documentary get made? The answer is probably no. So getting the band back together and doing one last dance, all that for a team whose defense did absolutely nothing is crazy to me. All right. Zach J says, I can't watch the press conferences because I get tired of not being able to hear the question. Is this not 2026? Yeah, that's pretty bad. What up, though, Britt DeWitt? I didn't watch it. I'm too much of a Pistons fan. But to answer the question, no, it doesn't get made if Chicago has no chips. I don't think I watch it if it wasn't COVID. I will tell you that much. I don't think I watch it if it wasn't COVID, but it was COVID and we had nothing else to do. Right. And that was also the brilliance of it coming out when it came out, you know. All right, let's move on. Because the Last Dance doesn't get made about teams that don't win championships. But the head coach is happy to have a Last Dance with the coaching staff that literally failed our team on their side of the ball. All right. Brenda Witt didn't watch it either. I got you. All right.
He's been getting together with Gall and and just trying to make sure that we get everything that kind of makes sense for him, but for us as well, and he and Gall. And then we'll start hitting the cut up. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Drew was fortunate to find him. I've always liked Drew from afar, facing those guys. But then just watching common opponents, through the years, what he was able to do offensively, I always liked it. There was creativity to it. Certainly they've used a lot of heavy sets lately, but that's where the roster has gone. That's not something that I foresee us being. We're going to be versatile, but he gives us that ability to make the most of what we have. And I just think he understands the protections. I understands the run game. He understands the pass game, certainly, quarterback play. So I think he's got it all. He's coached receivers, coached tight ends, coached quarterbacks. And I think that's important. It was important for this one. We had, a lot of different guys to interview. It was great. The process was great. A lot of good men, good coaches, great coaches, really. But he was the right fit. It was. I felt that within 20 minutes. So it was really good. So fired up to have him, and then one of the guys I was really high on through that whole process.
All right. And then he goes on to talk about Mike Kafka. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I didn't like the Drew Petzing hire, and I can say his name now. His name has been there so much, but I like Drew Pretzel, and I like Drew Petzkins. I might switch it up throughout the year. I wasn't excited about the hire, didn't know anything about the guy, didn't even know that he interviewed, right? So apparently, according to Brad Holmes, that Drew Petzing was one of the people that they interviewed very early on in the process. It just didn't get reported, right? And I am letting it play out. But the thing that I keep hearing from Brad, from Dan, and from Drew himself is that it was about using what you had. We heard from Osama bin Johnson, who said that it's a match made in heaven and all these other things. So the thing, good save there. I'm gonna strike my microphone on the floor. The thing that Johnny Moe came with a bunch of BS and a bunch of coach speak was he wasn't going to change anything while we was going to be taking deep shots, and this is going to be a vertical offense, yada, yada, yada. Drew Pretzel hasn't told you what he's going to do. He hasn't told you anything except for we're going to use what we have. While that's refreshing to hear because of the stain of Johnny Moe on this franchise, I can't 100% buy into it, and I'll believe it when I see it. So while I'm not going to strike a negative tone about it, we all know I was Team Mike McDaniel. It was very early on that I was watching how the Dolphins were crumbling and self-destructing all around. And I said, you need to fire that man so he can come home to Detroit. And he was on the doorstep of coming home to Detroit. And for whatever reason, he wasn't a fit. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it an opportunity. But I hope that we don't come out week number one looking like we did under Johnny Morton. Because if we come out week number one looking like we did under Johnny Morton, I'm going to be looking at the Los Angeles Chargers game to see what they look like. And it's going to be a very negative thing whenever we talk about the offense if the offense doesn't return to or surpass what it was when Osama bin Johnson was here. And it doesn't even have to return to that, but it has to be a similar output. We have to similarly be talking about what this offense can do, carrying the team because we know to this point, Brad Holmes at least doesn't care about the defense. Now he's got pieces. He's got Kirby. He's got Brian Branch. They're not available. Got Terrion Arnold. Not available. Got DJ Reed. Not great. And it's Ray Straw on a milk carton. Hutch. That's it. Hutch. We got Hutch. Okay, cool. Ali McNeil can't return to form. Paid him early, then he got hurt. Can't return to form. Who else on the defensive line? Is there any other person worth mentioning? Tyleik Williams. We still don't know what he is. He was a rookie last season. We have no idea what's going on the other side of the edge from Hutch. Alex Anzalone's leaving, and we're going to get into some of that today with some prospects. Derek Barnes is not, I mean, how many years do you need to become an impact player? Zach Bond I think he was All-American at Wisconsin, and he was supposed to be that dude, but then he goes to New Orleans, and New Orleans uses him incorrectly. They try to make him a stand-up linebacker and use him in one way. But what happened when he went to Philly, he got moved all around the defense. Yes, he is an off-ball linebacker and all these things, but he does rush, he does, cover, he does everything. And they were able to unlock him, and then he turned into an all-pro like he was supposed to when he was drafted. When does Derek Barnes become that all-pro? I don't think he has that in him, and I think he was a fourth-round pick out of Purdue. But Calvin Shepard had to have him. That's Calvin Shepard's guy, called him his little brother and all these other things. So the defense has a lot of holes in it. The defense has a lot of stuff that you're going to need to repair. So it's going to be up to the offense. It's going to be up to the offense. I mean, that's pretty much the clear answer to the question of what do we do about both safeties. I'm sure Terrion is healthy by now, or will be healthy by, the start of training camp, whatever. What do you do about, does DJ Reed have the ability to be what you paid him to be? Right? I don't want to hear about no hamstring injury, because he was getting cooked before the hamstring injury. Yeah, you're still going to run out there with Ennis Rakestraw, who, again, I think he's played 8 games in his career, and pretty much most of them have been on special teams and, some spot duty here and there covering a wide receiver. Defensive line is Hutch and who else? So the offense is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So if Gru Pretzel can handle that heavy lifting, if he can be a strong man, if he can be Mr. Olympia, cool, awesome. If he can't be, the team's going to struggle and it's going to suffer. All right, let me get comments. So if we had a top 5 offense and didn't make the playoffs, shouldn't that tell you something? I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, But again, the position that we're in, offense has to carry the team. I wish it wasn't that, but it is. Still not excited about the Drew hire, but we will see. He still can't afford for this hire to backfire on him. 100%. It's unaffordable. Didn't MCDC say in an earlier interview that he was spending more time on the defensive side? But did he say that? I don't know if he said that, but I think that's the sentiment. We understand that by you handing the reins over to Gru Pretzel and Mike Kafka, the bald boys, right? The bald bad boys. All right. if the offense takes off, I've coined that phrase already. The ball bad boys. Okay. If the offense sucks, then they'll be the bad ball boys. So it works either way. But I think that's the sentiment. So we'll see what happens, I guess. I have no say in what Brad Holmes does or who Dan Campbell hires. All I have to say is they better hope it's the right moves because the clock is ticking. Right. If it doesn't work out, what looks even worse for Dan Campbell is that he knew within 20 minutes that Grew was the right fit. So I hope it does. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you I'm actively rooting against this team. No, I hope it does. I hope they succeed. I hope the way that they do things finally gets them something, right? Because that's what I want to see. If not, I'm here to talk to you. I thought we overpaid for Barnes. I thought we did too. Honestly, I'm not really excited, about this next season. It really seems like more of the same. Hard pause to get excited, pause, when I know Melvin is going to resign Davenport. Told you that the Crash and Port episode is coming if that happens. DJ Reed must love BBQs because he was getting cooked. He must love barbecues because he was getting cooked. That is a fact. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting cooked. New drinking game. Take a shot every time Brad says obviously. Oh, you'll be drunk really quickly. All right. What is the next part of this press conference that we're reacting to? All right. So again, we'll move on to the defense. It says defensive staff evaluation, a question asking for an evaluation of Shep and the continuity of the defensive coaching staff heading into the new season. Here we go.
I think that's a fair assessment, but I think it more as, this is my, so most time I've had to be able to sit down with the defense and just go play by play, cut up by cut up. And well, let me go back. I think Shep did a good job, and I think he learned a lot, and I think he grew a ton. And I love the staff that's around him. I really do, man. I think those guys from Casey Rogers to Shea Townsend to get Jim O'Neill back, Sean Dion Hamilton, I just think it's a really good unit, man. It's an experienced unit. I think we got a lot of flexibility on what we do. Man, we just got to tighten the screws on a few things. But I love the staff, and I love what we do. Man, are there things, well, we've already been through the cut up, like, man, if we could go back, maybe we would play a little bit more of this or a little less of this. And so I think there's a lot of clarity in some things, adjusting when we get a few injuries here and there. What can we do better? What do the players, what can they do better? How complex is this really? Is it out of their wheelhouse? It's just we're asking somebody to do something they cannot do. So I think it's to be able to go into year two and learn and grow with a guy who is receptive. He's always looking for answers. He's always looking for new ways to do things. I'm talking about Shep, and with an experienced staff around him. So that fired me up. And so that really has been where my focus has been over the last, call it 3 weeks.
Okay. The positives. I'm going to go with the positives because I just spent a while talking about the negatives of the defense. So the positives are this. When you read between the lines, man, sometimes we could have played a little bit more of this, and we could have played a little bit less of that. We could play more zone, and we could play less man. That's what he's saying. How complicated is this? Is it in their wheelhouse? Maybe he's starting to realize that the vet squad, okay, say it with me now, the vet squad, these are professional practice players. And what do? They practice football professionally. What are we talking about? We're talking about practice. We're talking about the practice squad, not the vet squad. Maybe he's finally starting to realize that it's unrealistic to expect these practice squad players who practice football professionally right? They don't get paid to play football. They literally get paid to practice football. You are a professional practice player and you practice football professionally. What are we talking about? We talking about practice. We talking about practice. Y'all like that? I'm over here, detective. So maybe, is it in their wheelhouse? No, it's not in their wheelhouse. No. Thomas Harper can't be expected to do what Kirby Joseph does. Daniel Thomas can't be expected to do what Brian Branch does. They can't be expected to do what Ezekiel Mother effing Turner can't be expected to do what Alex Anzalone does. There are practice squad players for a reason. They are professional practice football players for a reason. They practice football professionally for the reason. We're talking about practice for a reason. So maybe with Dan saying that, he's really finally starting to realize that you can't depend on these guys to do the things that your starters do. That's why they're starters. Simplification. Simplifying. Is this thing too complicated? That part, if you're looking for music to your ears, that should be the part. Because if you guys remember, when we finished 9-8 last time, it's crazy. 9-8, the first time we finished under this regime, it was very, very optimistic. People loved everything. And we went to the NFC Championship game the next year. This 9-8 feels like the end of the world. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, a tale of two 9-8s. The rise and fall of the Detroit Lions. For those of you that are keeping up with the Pistons, they are now leading the OKC Thunder by 1 point, 43-42. It's just on my phone. It's sitting right here next to me, so it's on the lock screen. When we went 9-8 the first time, we started off 1-6. Sheila Ford-Hamp came out and she said, "Lions fans," right? And she stood behind Brad and Dan, said, "These are our guys, and we're going to right the ship," and they did. For the rest of the season and next season, and then the 15-2 season, and then everybody died, everybody got injured. But that's not why we lost to the Washington Commanders. You can't throw 4 interceptions in a game and in the playoffs divisional round and think that you're going to win. You can't have 5 turnovers and cause none and think that you're going to win. But in that first 9-8 season, what happened to spur the turnaround is that AG went back and simplified the defense. He simplified the defense and he said that people were overthinking, people were trying to do other people's jobs, people weren't trusting each other. This is what Alex Anzalone said. The people weren't trusting each other because your job is too complicated and I'm worried about you doing your job. I know my job, but you don't know your job. Right? And then when we went 15-2 and we had all of those injuries and people were coming in with name tags. "Hi, my name is Jamal Adams. Hi, my name is random football player number 5. Hi, my name is Stokey Carmichael, and I just came from the homeless shelter." Shout out if you know, use the hashtag Stokey Carmichael. It was simplification, right? AG said that we brought these people in here off the couch, off the scrap heap, off other people's practice squads, being professional practice players. They were practicing football professionally. What are we talking about? We talking about practice. We talking about practice. How did they do that? They taught them the way that they play and not necessarily the schemes and so on and so forth. So they could go out there and play fast. You just got here on Tuesday. You got a game on Sunday. Or you just got, in some cases, you just got here on Tuesday. You got a game on Thursday. It is what it is. So they taught them the philosophy of how the game is played from the perspective of the Detroit Lions. And that's how they put these players on the field and put them in position to succeed right away. So simplification of the defense, not trying to be too complicated, but I don't understand how complicated a man coverage scheme is. You know, hey man, just line up and cover the guy in front of you. Man coverage is the least complicated scheme that you can run. But they do have some other elements in there. You just don't have the horses. You don't have the horses to run stunts and run games on the defensive line because you don't have anybody there. I mean, again, if you want to talk to me about Tyleek, I got to see something from him. You know, if you want to talk to me about Aleem McNeil, I got to see some return to form. I got to see something from him. You know what I mean? Aleem McNeil's been here, so he's not a bum. You know, it's not that you can't go complicated with him. It's just, has he lost a step? Is he ever going to get it back? We don't know. And of course, they're bringing back Levi Onwuzurike for whatever reason. I really don't know. I mean, I wish I had an employer. I don't have an employer. I work for myself, but I wish that I had an employer that looked at me the way Brad Holmes looks at Levi Onwuzurike. Get you an employer that looks at you the way Brad Holmes looks at Levi Onwuzurike. Because we said yesterday that Brad Holmes was like, yes on Levi. Josh, we can talk about that. Why is it yes on Levi? What the frick has Levi done? He's been here 5 years, played one season. He's been here 5 seasons, played one. Get you an employer who looks at you the way that Brad Holmes looks at Levi Onwuzurike. Better drinking game. Take a shot every time Dan says or man. Y'all trying to kill yourself. Shep learned Aleem on the edge was failing constantly and he kept doing it. That's not learning. Now into the negative. That was a bunch of BS and coach speak because by the metrics, Shep got demonstrably worse throughout the year. The defense got demonstrably worse throughout the year. When the injuries hit, the adjustments weren't there. We just talked about the positives. One of the positives was maybe they're finally realizing that these professional practice players, what do? They practice football professionally. What are we talking about? We talking about practice. Those guys finally realizing that they can't do the same thing that the starters do. They didn't realize that last year. It shouldn't have taken you an entire season to realize that these guys can't do what you're asking them to do. And the coaching staff, the veterans around him, nobody said this. Not a single one. Casey Rogers didn't say it. Right? Well, Casey Rogers was playing was coaching Roy Lopez and DJ Reader and Hutch and AQM at the time. So I guess he felt like he was cool. Because Roy Lopez was doing his thing. DJ Reader was, Hutch. We already know Hutch, right? So Hutch had 14 and a half sacks. AQM had 11. And I guess Casey Rogers thought, hey, I'm doing my thing up here. Not really. I mean, look at the tape. You know what I mean? Look at the tape. As I said, 13 out of 17 opportunities to hold your opponent under 21 points, you couldn't do it. You failed 13 times. So Jim O'Neill couldn't help. Jim O'Neill was back there. He was the head secondaries coach pretty much. And he was back there like, like that little girl in the meme. You know what I'm saying? That's what Jim O'Neill was doing. He was back there like, what am I supposed to do? I'm saying. All right. Just happy to get him back. I don't get it. And going over the cut-ups, man, if we could have done a little bit more of this, we could have done a little bit more of that. We could have done a little bit less of this. We could have done a little bit less than that. I think he said what for the past 3 weeks he's been doing that. Cool. I mean, you don't realize a pattern. Everything needed to be adjusted, and we couldn't make the adjustments in season. Well, he was the one that looked at the adjustments and realized they needed to be made, right? So hopefully that means that he'll be able to do that during the season, this season, and sit down with Shep and be like, look, man, you need to poop or get off the pot. You know, this ain't working, right? So we'll see. Oh, it's halftime. Yeah, it is. All right. Let's get off the defense because there's really nothing good to say. I thought Chubb learned. I didn't think so. The numbers didn't tell us that either. Okay. Remember, numbers lie all the time when they have no context. And when we were provided the context, we found out that certain numbers were telling the absolute truth. I think that, man, if we take away about 15 of those runs that we had that were 100 yards, right? So we gave up 15 runs for 1,500 yards that game. So those runs, we gave up 1,500-yard runs. If you take those 15 away, we really only gave up 50 yards that game. So if we go ahead and take those things away, then those gains that we gave up, when we gave up 1,500 yards that game, 1,550 yards, yeah, we got to take all those away. And we gave up something like 50 yards. So it just a few things we got to clean up. We're going to clean them up. We're going to do it. That's unacceptable. We're about accountability over here. Okay. We're about accountability. And this is how we do things down here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm sorry. I'm in Detroit. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So we just got to take away some things. We got to clean some things up. We got to make adjustments. We're going to do that. I've already talked to the players. The players know what's expected of them. The players know what's expected of me. And once we do all of that, we're going to be a really good football team. We're going to be really good defense. And that's what we're focusing on around here in Allen Park. Next question. Y'all like my chef impersonation? All right. It's Taylor Decker's future. We already talked about Taylor Decker. I surprised myself with that one. David Montgomery. Here we go.
He's another guy we talked at the very end of the year. And I told him I was not, I like to give these guys their space and just let them kind of unwind a little bit in their own way. They don't need me in their ear. But certainly, he knows how I feel. Drew loves him. Who wouldn't? This guy's he's a heck of a back. And so we'll see where everything's at. Certainly there's been healthy conversations. I'm sure Brad told you guys. Probably mentioned that. So all good, man. David's a pro. So figure this out.
David Montgomery has been saying positive things, right? David Montgomery, what up, the 313 Thug living? David Montgomery has been saying all the right things, but if David Montgomery is out of the door, I'm going to tell you that that's on Dan Campbell. That's not on Brad Holmes. That's on Dan Campbell. The reason I say that it's on Dan Campbell is that Dan Campbell sat up there and told you that he would like to see David Montgomery get the ball more when Johnny Moe was the play caller. When Dan Campbell stripped Johnny Moe of his play calling duties and he took over, he took the reins, he was at the helm of play calling, David Montgomery still couldn't get the damn ball. So if you're telling me you'd like to see him get the ball more, and that's a shot at your current offensive coordinator, then you demote your offensive coordinator and you take over the reins. You, the one that said he needs to get the ball more, and then you proceed to not give him the ball more. What can you tell me? So Dan said, I don't want to be in his ear. I want to give him his space, this, that, and the third thing. What can you say, Dan? How am I supposed to believe what you have to say when you sat up there and said, I need to get the ball more? Then you got the opportunity to give me the ball more and you didn't give me the ball more. So I don't know if David Montgomery is not a Detroit Lion next season, he won it out because he felt lied to by Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell is a straight up dude and all these other things. But again, whatever the reasons were, and he gave reasons and he gave excuses, and we just couldn't find. You got to make times, big dog, right? You got to make times. If you want this player to get the ball and you're controlling who gets the ball and who doesn't, give him more carries. It's that simple. And I'm sure David Montgomery has the same thought process. Okay, give me the ball then. If you want me to get the ball, give me the ball. Right? We got kids, right? Everybody got kids. If you got multiple kids, let me know in the chat, right? Yeah, multiple kids. Let's say you got 3, right? And you see one of them ain't eating enough. And you be like, your wife is cooking, right? And it's like, man, look, this one, he ain't eating enough. I need to get him. I need to feed him more. So you take over the cooking duties and you still feed him the same amount, maybe even less. That's on you. That's your problem, right? 313 Thug Living got 2. Tactical Sport has 3. I also have 3, right? I got 2 sons and a daughter, right? If one of my sons ain't eating enough and I take over the cooking duties and that dude still ain't eating enough because I'm not giving him more food, and I got the food, I got the pot, I got the spatula, you know what I'm saying? I got the serving spoon, I got all of that, I got the tongs, and I'm fixing plates, and he's still getting the same amount or even less maybe at times. That's on me. That's my fault. It's not his. So if David Montgomery is not here next season, so Brad, it's on Dan Campbell. Montgomery for Jalen Petrie would solidify our secondary. I don't know why the Texans would do that. You know what I mean? The Texans got Woody Marks. They're dealing with, running backs that they're getting out in the 6th and 7th round. I don't think they would do that. And it takes away from a strength, and it's not going to fix their weakness, which is their offense, because right now their quarterback sucks and their offensive line sucks. So I don't think that David Montgomery would fix anything in Houston. I don't understand why we would move on from Monty, especially when your backup is Vaki, and we all know how healthy he's been. Yeah, listen. Vaki was actually one of my favorite players in the draft, and I was excited when we got him. But I was more so excited for him as a safety. I wasn't really excited for him as a running back. We drafted him as a running back. Now, looks like you should have kept him at safety because we need some depth, but then he's always injured. So, I don't know. Safety was his natural position. Like, y'all remember, he played running back because where'd he go? Utah or something like that? Utah, Texas. I think, did he go to Utah? I think it was Utah, right? They were shorthanded at running back. So he got in there and did what he needed to do. So to draft him as a running back in the 5th round, he can't stay healthy. He can't get on the field. You can't be comfortable. You know, Brad Holmes talking about, he talked to Monty's agent, his representative, whatever the case may be. And that's what you do with players, I guess. But sometimes you need a personal conversation. You know what I mean? A courtesy call, a courtesy call would help. Monty runs for 12 yards, take him out. He's done it. That's it. We don't need any more Monty today. All right. Let's move on to some other stuff from this press conference. I mean, we player injury rehab. Question regarding specific players' injury recovery timeline. I mean, Kirby and Brian Branch. I mean, we already know this. I mean, there's not really any updates at all. So, all right. There's not really a whole lot of different stuff. Here we go. Combine versus game tape. A question asking if a prospect's performance at the NFL Combine can ever override their actual college game tape. I'm pretty sure you know what the answer is for that.
Override tape for a player? You're talking about for this, like the Combine, is override tape? Never. I don't think. I don't know what would override that. I think the tape is always going to speak louder than anything else. And if the tape doesn't speak, then it doesn't matter anything else, really. That's probably the best way to say it.
I mean, that's good to hear because you do have other coaches and GMs who fall in love with people. See John Ross from what they did at the Combine. I know if you play Madden or you used to play Madden, obviously, that speed is what you care about. But this ain't Madden. You can't coach speed, and that's why you have to go and get a person like Jameson Williams. That's why you have to go and get a person like Xavier Worthy. But if you look at the tape and then you look at John Ross's tape, you see that John Ross wasn't going to be an NFL wide receiver. He was just a really fast dude. You look at J-Mo's tape from Alabama, he was going to be an NFL wide receiver. You look at Xavier Worthy's tape from Texas, you knew he was going to be an NFL wide receiver. So tape don't lie, ball don't lie. So it's good to at least have a competent head coach that understands that you can't fall in love with a player based off of their Combine performance. They fall in love with players based on other stuff, but Combine performance, they're more likely to fall in love with the player because of the interview than what they test. So, Titans release Cushenberry could be another name the Lions look at. He could be. But I think Cade Mays is the guy. The Combine did override tape for Zach Wilson. Yeah, and again, we don't have that guy who did that. And that's why I'm saying it's good to have at least a competent head coach who doesn't fall in love with what someone did in their underwear. You know what I mean? Because we know there are lots of situations where a guy got drafted in a place where he had no business getting drafted, and it was because it was the Combine performance. I mean, when you look at mock drafts, right? Shout out to the mockmachine.com, right? When you look at mock drafts, after the Combine, people rise and fall, which is pretty much the dumbest thing ever because you didn't actually do anything differently. You went to a testing facility, right? Some people, because y'all know I used to be a teacher, right? Some people don't test well. You could be a brilliant kid, but you don't test well. You get nervous. You clam up. You forget things. Yada yada yada. Some people test wonderfully. Some people have mastered the ability to memorize answers and things of this nature, and that's great. Now, if you put them out there in the real world, in the wild, the guy that was super smart but didn't test well is going to be better in the workforce than the guy who just tested well but wasn't actually the most intelligent. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the NFL Combine. We love it because we love to see how fast people run. We love to see how strong people are. And a lot of times things get overblown. Now, what I will say is that when the combine numbers validate what you saw on tape, right? When they validate what you saw on tape, when you have an edge rusher who's constantly in the backfield chasing the quarterback around and he runs a 4.4, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I saw that on tape. He is that fast. It's not just football speed. So things like that, those things make sense. But all the other stuff, oh, this dude had 3 catches for 100 yards on the season, but he ran a 4.1 flat. So you're going to draft him number 5 overall. That's crazy. The dude had 3 catches, right? So he's got blazing speed, but he either wasn't getting open or his quarterback was cheeks, right? If you look at Calvin Johnson, he was in a situation where you don't throw the ball that often. But when he got the ball, oh, he was a beast and he was doing what he did. So, he comes to the combine, he validates everything, and you take him. And we see what happens. 10 years later, he's Megatron and a Hall of Famer, first ballot. So it is what it is. The only time the combine can override tape is when they are 3rd round project picks that we must trade up for. Broderick Martin wasn't even at the combine, bro. Taylor saw Trent Williams got released and said, "Hold my beer." Yeah, amazing the amount of people that will disregard 3 or 4 years of tape because a test's great. Yeah, if your tape is underwhelming, I don't care what the test says. You know what I mean? I don't care what it says. All right, let's go with mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they reading you? Snick, mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. I'm over here, detective. All right. While I wait for you to get your mailbag question in, go to the mockmachine.com. Sign up. Go to the GM mode. Invite your friends to sign up. Invite your family members to sign up. Sign free agents. Clear cap space. Cut players. Make trades. Draft. What does your offseason look like? How did you, what approach did you take to fix the tremendous holes in the Detroit Lions roster? How did you allocate your funds? It's all on you. You get the chance to be better than Brad Holmes. www.themockmachine.com sponsors the stream. Brad saw Broderick's non-existent combine tape and said, "This MFer don't miss." He don't hit either because he's not there. Oh, that's crazy. That is crazy indeed. So how many of you guys have gone to the mockmachine.com, this stream's sponsor? Yeah. To get your I was gonna say get your mock draft questions in. Get your mailbag questions in. Get your mailbag questions in. Also, guys, remember last season we were trying to do the all 32 team mock draft. We've got the capability to do it this season, right? We've got the capability to do it. So that's why we need to make sure that the bugs are fixed and everything. And we will do it before the draft. We will do it before the draft. So chat members will be able to pick a team. I may participate. I may not participate. I may just see what y'all are doing. I may just be the MC, the DJ. Tactical Sport Trades with Brent DeWitt. Pick number 5, round 1, you know, whatever. I might just do it that way. Hey, did you know that Lamar Jackson is left-handed and QB's right-handed? Well, now you do. I think I did hear something crazy like that. It's not frozen for me on my side. I don't know. I think that was just you, because I think I'm good. Yeah, I think I'm good. Frozen anywhere, guys? Anybody got a freeze? Anybody got a freeze? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Mike's still good. All the levels are up. Yeah, I don't see no glitching. Okay. Zach J says you're good. So that is on Tactical Sport. You might have to refresh your stream, my guy. Yep, we're good. Okay. All right. So we are gonna do that, guys. If you guys are interested, if we don't get 32, nah, it didn't freeze. It didn't freeze. Yeah, I think your comments are on like a repeat loop or something, because that's the same comment from before. Yeah, no, we're good over here. We're good. We're Dan Campbell. We're Dan Campbell. we're Dan Campbell, and the freeze is Zadarius Smith. We're good. You know? Yeah, you're frozen, Tactical, because your comments are on a loop. All right. So like I said, we will be doing that, guys. So make sure you go to themockmachine.com, you check it out. You sign up, you log in, you pick your team. It's February 25th right now for you guys. So the draft is what, April 30th? We've got time. We've got about 2 months where we can get signed up, signed in, tested. We want to make sure that we do that big mock draft stream. We might do some test streams, in the part of the, well, nothing really slows down too much. I guess when we're getting ready for the draft, stuff does kind of slow down. Free agency will slow down after the first week or two. So maybe during that little period between the slow period of free agency and the beginning of the draft, then we'll start with the testing of the big mock draft on stream to see how it handles itself. All of your devices. There was something going on earlier. People were reporting that they couldn't comment properly. on YouTube. April 23rd to 25th. All right. So still we got about 2 months. If we say exactly. Right. So we'll do that. And that's why y'all gotta sign up, man. Y'all gotta sign up, sign in, test it out. So that when it comes time to do that, we've already tested everything. We know how it's gonna go, we know how long it's gonna take, so on and so forth. I don't know if you can go for 1 hour and do that. So maybe we'll have to do a 2-hour thing. I got some other stuff cooking up coming down the pike. I'll let you know about that. As far as streaming opportunities and things of that nature. So yeah, we'll get into it. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, guys. I gotta get to work. So once again, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. We came to give you stats, none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your lines news pragmatic. And we are out. Peace.